Check, please. Yeah. No, the food was good. It's just started talking about society, so we're going to. Super Bowl champion Greg Jennings is here. Greg, your thoughts on the latest comments from Aaron Rodgers?
You know what? He's right. People do have a hard time swallowing what truth brings. But my mom told me it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Oh.
It's simple. For him, and this right here wasn't his truth to tell. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. The forum that he chose, you alluded to this a couple days ago, the forum that he chose to speak this truth on was inappropriate. The fact that I guarantee you if we could ask any of his teammates, you know what, has he said this to you? Was this spoken before speaking to someone outside of our unit, our locker room? Probably not. So now everybody has to respond and answer all these questions based on what Aaron has put out there in the public. But since the truth is hard and we need to hear the truth, here's some truth for you. Aaron Rodgers, 220 passing yards per game over the last 3 games. That's 23rd in the NFL. The Packers offense has scored 25-plus points in just 2 games this season.
That's true.
They didn't do that, or 0 times in last 3 games. Like, no times in the last 3 games.
10,
They're
20
averaging
the last 3.
15 points per game.
Tricky.
In 4 losses. Like, this is not just about the others. This is about everybody included, primarily Aaron Rodgers, because he hasn't been MVP caliber. Period. The truth hurts. Like, they're not a good football team when it's about Aaron and throwing the football. You want to know another stat that jumps out that's really alarming?
Let's go.
The Packers, when they rush the ball, they lose, basically. 64 yards per rush in the 3-game losing streak.
Yes.
And we look at their offense and say, you know what, Aaron needs to throw more. No, they run the ball. When we think about who they are this year and what they've done well when they've chosen to do it, they've turned around and given the ball to Aaron Jones. They found a way to get him the ball. This is not about Aaron Rodgers and throwing the ball to these receivers. We know who they are. We knew that they were going to struggle. All of a sudden, it's going to be on them. That's not fair.
Well, so the question I would have to Aaron, because the numbers, I mean, Greg said some of them. He has 0 games this year of 260-plus yards.
Yep.
His last 2 MVP seasons, he had 19. He has 0 games of 3-plus touchdowns. His last 2 MVP seasons, he had 18. He has 2 games of 100-plus passer rating. His last 2 MVP seasons, he had 25. So my question is anyone allowed to do it to him? That's the,
like, who's in the locker room?
If there was someone in the locker room,
who is allowed to do it to him? Because the answer, I think some would say, is, I guess, the head coach. But Aaron seems a hell of a lot more comfortable calling out the head coach publicly than the head coach feels comfortable calling out Aaron. There has not been a single time that I've heard Matt LaFleur go to the press conference and say, listen, if I'm being totally honest, and, society has a hard time hearing hard truths, woke America these days. However, I'm gonna spit some. We need better play out of the quarterback position. Spend 20% of our cap on that position. We need better play out of it. I'm sure LaFleur at some point thought it. But is anyone allowed to do it? Because Rodgers, 2 straight weeks, has either directly or indirectly called out the coach. Saying we need to simplify things, that's the coach's job. Saying the wrong players are playing, that's the coach's job. So it is frustrating to me, Brew, that he seems to be speaking from this place of, I'm just going to tell you guys how things are in the real world. In the real world, we have hard conversations and we call people out. But he's saying it from a protected position where ain't nobody in that organization able to call him out.
Well, look, both you guys are right, and he's right. What he said is true. Society has a hard time hearing the truth.
Well, no society.
But so does he. That's the thing. He doesn't want to hear what you just said. He said it himself. His best game, he threw 194 yards in a loss to a second-string quarterback on a previously 2-win team. That's his best game of the season. And you think you're playing well? You want to hear the truth really about how you're playing? Do you want to hear the truth, Aaron Rodgers, that your lack of leadership and your unwillingness to look in the mirror, right, instead of just passing the buck to all your teammates, is hurting your team? Do you want to hear that truth?
Can I say something?
Yeah, go, Greg.
Say something. So I said this a long time ago. I talked about his lack of leadership. And boy, did everybody come out and attack me. Oh, Greg is bitter. He has an axe to grind, all this stuff. All of that, no, not true. It was true what I was saying.
Yep.
Society didn't want to hear it, and guess who else didn't want to hear it?
A lot of society.
Aaron
Right.
Rodgers didn't want to hear it. And you want to know what else is true? The only people that talk about his leadership being so great are within that building. Do we hear anybody outside of that building or that locker room ever talking about across the league how phenomenal of a leader Aaron Rodgers is?
So
We hear it all the time with Tom Brady,
Of course.
and Patrick Mahomes. I'm talking about other players outside the locker room.
And there's an interesting corollary cross sports, if we will, some maybe personal similarities, some professional similarities between Durant and Rodgers. Two guys that are phenomenal, once-in-a-lifetime talents who maybe haven't won as much as you would think they would win given their talent, right? And I was listening to Charles Barkley talk with your buddy Bill Simmons this week about Durant indirectly. And he was talking about when you are the best player on the team. He's like, listen, here's the deal. For all the guys who've been best players, it's an amazing deal. He's like, we get paid the most, we get all the commercials, and when we win, even if we're not great, we get all the credit.
Right.
The trade-off is when we lose, we get all the blame, even though usually we were the best guy out there, we still get blamed. And he was talking about how KD hasn't accepted that trade-off.
Right.
It sure feels like that's the spot with Aaron right now. He gets all the money. For a decade plus, all the success has fallen at his footsteps. He's in the discount double check, and now a little bit of adversity, and we're talking about mental errors and rookie receivers and wrong reps like that.
And to your point, Nick, people blamed it for years, up until recently.
On McCarthy.
McCarthy and the defense. Never really looking at, when you just look at the box score, Aaron threw for 300. Yeah, but a lot of it came when they were down 20-0. You know, why did he let them get down 20-0 or 27-0 or whatever it may have been? So look, Tom Brady and Joe Montana are, barring Mahomes and these new era guys, the two GOATs, the two best ever. They don't have nearly as much physical talent as Aaron Rodgers, but they got intangibles. They are leaders or were leaders, and Aaron Rodgers isn't. And that's why he's been to one Super Bowl.
Okay.
And it was a decade ago.
Well, there you go. A rough segment for Aaron Rodgers. I'll be honest with you.
Well, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Hey, listen, people need to hear the truth.
Brady Lamar, we discuss next.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.